Hello everybody and welcome to this tutorial. Today I will open up a chapter on attacking your home routers, and not only home routers but routers in general. Why is this important? Well, routers are the first line of defense for any major network out there, and if you can break into them, you generally can do pretty much whatever you want on the network. You can actually exclude people from the firewall rules on the network and access them directly as well. That can be a painful experience for anyone on the other side. You can also change the DNS settings. You can set up proxies or something of a kind, redirection of traffic. You can serve them whatever information you want, because for all intents and purposes, you are able to decide on what is what. So when a router requests a URL, you can tell it, well, it's on this IP address, or it's on that IP address, or you need to go here, or you need to log in here before you can go there, or whatever. It provides for all sorts of shenanigans. Now, before we begin, I would like you all to go ahead and open up your web browser. You will need two websites, nmap.org and exploit database. I have opened up both of these websites before, but we haven't actually went over them. We haven't actually used much from these websites, from all the vast resources that they have to offer. And if you wish to follow this tutorial through and do the things that I'm doing, you will need to modify your home networks you will need to modify your commands to an extent, and you will need to just pay attention at what you are using, primarily because I have a router that is set up in my home for the purposes of this tutorial, that I have configured for the purposes of this tutorial. But your home routers are likely to be different, and provided of course that you own your own home router and that you legally can actually do whatever you want to it, because not all telecoms allow that. You can then feel free to play around with it and see what you can do. You can lock it yourself, know the password, but then you can try to break into it. That's one of very good exercises. Sometimes you won't be able to break into it. There simply won't be any vulnerabilities out there, and you won't have a suitable target for social engineering or anything of a kind. But more often than not, what you are able to do is pull credentials from the router, without actual authentication. These are also some of the exploits that usually are referred to by link traversal. And by modifying the URL requests of the HTTP of the web server of the router, you are able to pull certain information from it which ordinarily would not be available. Now, a key thing to mention here is that it is a lot easier to break into the home routers as opposed to breaking into the routers of bigger companies whose networks are protected by such firewalls. Primarily because those routers in the companies, they are maintained, somebody takes care of them, somebody takes care of the updates, and so on and so forth. While on the other hand, the home routers, I mean, be honest with yourselves again, and how many of you actually conduct upgrades of firmware on your routers? And usually if there's one exploit, if you don't update it, it's going to stick around there for a long line of years to come. Also, if you're wondering why should you attack home routers as opposed to attacking, for example, companies, organizations, or something of a kind, well, if you are conducting a pen testing exercise, if you are providing a pen testing service, and if you are attempting to prove that a network is vulnerable of a certain company who has hired you, you might not be able to attack it directly, but you might be able to attack the employees' home routers, where you can actually gather information on them and later on utilize that information in order to break into the routers on the main network within the building of the company. Anyway, as I said, if you have a permission on your home router, feel free to play around with it. If not, then don't. Feel free to buy a router somewhere for 20 bucks, something